As a Catholic speaker, I speak on love and relationships, sexuality, marriage, different things like that. And as I've said in other videos, Glamour, for some reason, sent me free magazines every month, and I used to read them to see what wisdom of the world had in regard to love, and I used them in my talks, and just the articles are such garbage and trash. I mean, seriously, in this particular article, they were talking about what people do with their sexual habits, and they interviewed many different men on what they need, what their needs are, and how their needs are met. And besides the fact that all of the answers were really, really poor and just bad, a couple in particular, especially one in particular, stood out. They interviewed a 30-year-old man here who said that every day, every guy, when he wakes up to when he goes to sleep, is thinking about one thing: how I can get laid. I feel gross and dirty just talking like that, and I apologize to all the ladies out there, but you have to know what this culture is perverting our kids with, what this culture is teaching our young adults with, and they are. Cosmopolitan, Glamour magazine, these are huge magazines read by many different women, and these are just a couple that infiltrate and pervert our ideas of love and sexuality and marriage, and they destroy them. And in fact, I mean, what do we even say about this? Literally, every day, every guy, from when he wakes up to when he goes to sleep, is thinking, how can I get laid? What? Every man? Seriously? Like, talk about a high school, middle school mentality. Like, I'm going through puberty and I can't control myself. I'm thinking about it every second. I used to have cats growing up, and when my cats were in heat, they used to hump everything from the side of the chair to the counter, literally just everything, because they couldn't help themselves. And this guy sounds like the exact same thing. It's a high school mentality. And just because he does it, or he wants it, or he can't control himself, and he thinks about it constantly, it does not follow that all men, or even most men, do. And yet, which of all the people they could have chosen in this interview, they chose this poor excuse for a man who has no control and is really a slave to his own sexuality. Don't believe me? Listen to this next question. Same guy. When his wife asked her husband if he was thinking about her during master, when he gets off, I'm going to keep this PG, when he gets off with himself, does he think of his wife? Does he think of her? Listen to what his answer is. Most of the time, no. Sometimes, yes. But really, no. You have to get off. If I can't, I would be like a crazy person with a machete. Wow. Now, apparently all guys are like this. This is literally what these magazines do. They lie to you. In fact, in our other video, which we did on what every woman is doing in bed and what you need to know, it's just literally they use these over generalizations that don't apply to most people. I mean, have you ever seen the movie The Last Samurai, where they were fighting the samurais, Tom Cruise and his army, and they lost. And Tom Cruise was the captain, and he got captured. And he had done some bad things in his past, which I'm not going to spoil just in case you want to see the movie. But the bottom line is they capture him, and they bring him back to their samurai village, and they lock him in a room. They basically tie him in an empty room. And he used to deal with the bad things that he did through alcoholism. He was a huge alcoholic, and whenever these memories used to come into his mind, he drowned them. But he couldn't do that when he was locked away in this room. And eventually the detox started taking effect, and he started going through jitters, and he started drooling and going crazy, and he would scream, "Sake!" which was Japanese for alcohol, and he was asking for more and more alcohol, and they wouldn't give him any. Sake! He was going crazy with the detox. There's a word for this, people. One word in the English language that sums all of this up, and it's called addiction. Another word that comes to mind is slavery. I mean, this man is a slave to his sexuality and can't live without it, in the same way that Tom Cruise could not live without alcohol, and bad things started to happen when when it took him away. I mean, it's like a spoiled kid. What do you do with a spoiled, rotten brat who you say no to him? What does he do? He throws himself on the floor and has a tizzy fit and a temperature, and he yells and he screams until he gets what he wants. This is how this grown 30-year-old man is acting, running around not with drums or cymbals that make me crazy, a machete. If that's not imagery, this is how addicted this man is. He is a slave to his own passions, and he's not man enough to go without it. I mean, he has to, or he'd be a crazy man. That's called addiction. And not everybody is that far gone. And the reason you are that far gone is because that's what sexuality does. Anything you eat, your favorite food, your favorite TV show, your favorite radio program, it all gets old after a while. Nothing remains perfectly fresh on this earth. Everything grows old. And so over time, you need to do more and more things to keep that fun, or to like that radio station, or find a new song. Or in the world of sexuality, what do you do when you program yourself with pornography and you train your brain to get bored of all the most beautiful women in the world? You try to get more and more and more. And all science says is that it's an addiction, very similar to drugs. Many people have asked me about the book that they see up on my up here. It just says porn. And people are like, why do you have a book on porn? That's bad, you know. Christians, it's against porn, all right? It's called The Porn Myth. And it talks about the absolute destructive, devastating industry of porn on men and women, relationships, marriages. It makes more money than the NBA, the NBL, and the NFL. Basketball, football, and baseball all combined. That is how huge this industry is. And our kids are getting into it as young as 9 years old or even earlier, and they're addicted by the time they're 10 or 12. They're getting slammed with it. And so it's really a huge problem. So we have 30-year-old men running around and like 12-year-olds in the mind. And this is a huge problem. I mean, I want to apologize, first of all, to all of you women out there for even me having to use this ungentlemanly language and even thinking about this filth in such a filthy way, or even that this man's mind is so filthy. I want to apologize on his behalf because he's not a gentleman. I mean, I would have stopped right here where it said, do you think about your wife? Most of the time, no, but sometimes yes. Just stop there. Every woman wants to be number one in a man's life. She wants to be first. She wants to be the most important. She wants to be fought for. That is how God made a woman's heart. That's how women's heart are made. And what is it saying when you go look at porn? What is it saying when you go do something else? When you cheat on your wife, or you even just look at other women? You might not, go do anything with it, but you're checking out other women. What does that say? You're not good enough. You're not number one. And women's heart were made to be that. So we must get mastery over our minds and our hearts. To be honest, most men are not like this. I mean, for myself, I don't think about getting laid. Sorry, so ungentlemanly just even talk like this. I don't think about getting laid every day, from the minute I wake up to the morning I go to bed, or for that record, at all. I don't think about it at all. I don't watch porn. I don't, sleep around. I don't think about these things night and day. I don't think that, I need to get some. Shockingly, I don't watch disgusting movies. I don't I don't get off. I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying I never did, but I don't now because, several reasons. Partly because I have a healthy view of sexuality and I understand its purpose, its meaning, and its relationship to love and marriage. Number two, I have real relationships with real women, and I don't need fake ones to destroy the real ones, and they do. These things will destroy your relationships, destroy marriages. They do all the time. Three, I've worked very hard in my life to overcome these powerful urges, these sexual urges, the itch that we just need to scratch, and many men make excuses for. I'm a man, I have these needs. Well, we have lots of needs in the world, but sexuality is not one of them. Food is a need that comes to mind. Water is a need that comes to mind. Sleep is another one. Sexuality is not on that list. You could go your whole life without that and you would live. You would live. In fact, I do every day. I mean, I didn't even get married until I was 30, and I waited until marriage to have sex until I was 30. And people wondered, how could you do that? oh my gosh, I must have been dying or imploding. No, we just have a healthy view of sexuality. And when you let it go out of control and you run rampant and you start giving into these things that do create addictions, they actually rewire the neurological systems in your brain to create addiction, which is why they're so powerful, which is why they're so hard to break. It's very much like drug use and alcohol. That's what science says. I highly recommend the book The Porn Myth or Pure of Heart, which is a CD set by Jason Everett, which is powerful in helping to overcome and break this as well. But the bottom line is this man wants what he wants. He's never told himself no. His wife is not important in his life. She's not. Other women are more important, and he is the most important because he does what he wants for himself without caring about his wife or other people. It's about him, and that's why he thinks and acts the way he does. And honestly, that's what lust is. It's a selfish perversion of love, where it flips love upside down. Love gives gladly, willingly, sacrificially to the other person. Lust takes selfishly, constantly, and without caring about the other person. One is freely giving, one is snatching and stealing for oneself. I am far from perfect. And in a world that has magazines and articles and books and TV shows and Netflix shows and movies and billboards and women just walking down the street, beaches, woo! I mean, it's really, really difficult to be a man. For women don't even understand many times how men are programmed and how visually attractive we are. We are so attracted visually where women don't always operate that way, or at least historically have not. But we are very operationally visual. And so in order to overcome that, we need to work really hard. And I've had to work and continue to need to work and keep up on this and stay vigilant every single day. I have lots of temptations. I have lots of things that pull my ear this way or that, but I've trained myself not to think about it or not to give into it. I try to, turn my mind the other way to other healthier things. And when you can train your brain one way, or you can reprogram it and train it another way. And I've read a ton of books and done a lot of counseling and studied a lot of, Catholic sources to reprogram your mind, like Love and Responsibility, which I'm about to do a whole series on. And John Paul II's Theology of the Body, and countless books that I have on the other side of the room that you can't see here. But I've read so many books on the topic to help me to overcome these things. And again, I'm far from perfect, and I could be anyone any day of the week if it weren't for God's grace. But the bottom line is if you want, you don't need, but if you want to find love, and if you want to find true love, and you want to have a good, healthy, long-term relationship that doesn't get destroyed, then work on your stuff now. Start working on it. It's a war. And Pope John Paul II said it's not going to go away overnight. And we can't expect our addiction to go away overnight, but we must go to war against it. And we have videos on how to overcome porn or addictions and things like that. If you're interested, if I remember, I'll try to link them at the end here or in the show description notes below. But I hope this has helped you. Hope to see how gross our culture is, how many men and women in our culture think, and the people from the top down who choose these few people to represent the whole and its faults. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this, then please like this video, subscribe, and check out our other videos because we have so many other videos on these topics to help you find true love, to help you find happily ever after, to help you be happy in life, to have a healthy self-esteem, and to avoid the potholes of things that are going to make you unhappy, destroy your life, and lead to a broken heart. So share this with the world. Share these principles that everyone needs to know. Thanks for watching, and God bless. Oh, and make sure to follow our Catholic Truth Living Facebook and Instagram page. Check those out. I'll leave them in the description section below. And if you want to support our ministry, Patreon and PayPal also below.